Chapter 3. Visit to Mr. Taniuchi'c's clinic. As part of this project, I hope to visit the clinics of all the teachers I interviewed. Unfortunately, due to time constraints as well as the limited availability of the teachers in the week the workshop was running, I was only able to fit in a visit to Mr. Taniuchi'c's clinic alone. Mr. Taniuchi'c's main clinic was based at his home in a residential area close to the Sagami Ono station in Kanigawa Prefecture. Unfortunately, when I left the station, I quickly got lost. The map I had from his website did not seem to reflect the streets outside the station, and I wandered back and forth trying to get my bearings. Eventually, I decided to admit defeat and call. Unfortunately, I called one of his branch clinics and not his main one, and after some discussion using my elementary level Japanese, we managed to arrange for one of Mr. Taniuchi'c's employees from his main clinic to meet me back at the station and guide me. 10 minutes later, I was met by a pretty young lady who could speak English, and she led the way. As she guided me through various streets and past lots of different buildings and houses, I kept the thought to myself that there was no way I could have found this clinic by myself. It turned out that Mr. Taniuchi'c had many overseas visitors to his clinic. A senior acupuncturist from England had come the previous year, spending a couple of weeks training at his clinic, and he had received visitors from other countries. Mr. Taniuchi'c's clinic was impressive. In its main waiting room, he had a small cafe area where they sold vegetarian food. The waiting area had modern decoration and was very bright, clean, and had a relaxing cafe-like feel to it. The treatment rooms were clean and modern, with high-quality equipment, treatment tables, and linen and gentle lighting. It felt like a spa. Multi-bed practices. Mr. Taniuchi'c runs a multi-bed clinic. It is in a large area containing treatment tables with partitions and curtains between each bed. Multi-bed clinics are very common in Japan. In my interviews, all the teachers answered that they saw hundreds of patients a month. This is really only possible if they run a multi-bed practice, which enables a physician to treat 2 or 3 people at the same time. It usually works like this. A patient arrives, the assistant takes them to the treatment room and instructs them to undress, put on a treatment robe, and lie down. After a few minutes, the senior practitioner comes into the room. He does a small consultation, asking you about health problems you may have. He then assesses your body condition and does the root treatment, which involves some needling. He then instructs his assistant to perform some moxa or another type of branch treatment, and he leaves you with the assistant. The senior practitioner then goes to the next patient and repeats the same process. After the assistant has finished, the senior practitioner then returns and checks on the condition of your body to see if there has been an improvement. He may then do some more needling and then either instructs the assistant to carry out some more branch treatment, or he may leave you alone to relax and to allow the treatment to take effect. He will then go back to the other patient to check on their condition, or he may tend to a third patient. This going back and forth between patients means that these practitioners are very busy, but there is a certain rhythm to their routine. The patient fees for a treatment are also less expensive than what you may pay for an acupuncture treatment in the West because of the multi-bed model. This enables patients to have 2 or even 3 treatments a week, depending on the nature of the problem. I was allowed to observe Mr. Taniuchi'c at work, giving treatments to 2 of his patients. One patient was a very friendly and talkative middle-aged lady who was a regular and who happened to be his sister. She told me she regularly comes for treatment as she felt that these acupuncture treatments kept her body in good, healthy condition. The other patient I observed was a young male student, a musician, who was suffering from pain in his hand, which was affecting his playing. Other patients came and went, but I did not observe their treatments. Even while I was observing, Mr. Taniuchi'c took on the role of teacher. He prompted me to take the pulse of one patient and asked what I found. He also instructed me to carry out a part of the needling treatment, which I found quite daunting and which I believe I carried out clumsily, but he was always very encouraging and told me it was good. Afterwards, I also availed myself of the opportunity to experience a treatment for myself, for research purposes, of course. It allowed me an opportunity to speak to his sighted assistant, who told me that she had been working for him after graduating, and her skill level had improved a lot since being there. She also used the guide tube method of inserting needles. All of his assistants were young and pretty, including his daughters who worked with him. It was also clear that everyone worked very hard in the clinic and was busy. As a patient receiving the treatment, the experience was different. Mr. Taniuchi'c entered the room. I was struck by his warm smile and calm and professional manner. He asked if I had any health complaints. In this situation, his assistant translated my answer. He checked my body using palpation of my pulse and abdomen. He carried out some contact needling to acupuncture points on my feet and hands, and then checked my pulse again. He did some more contact needling and checked my pulse again. This was the root treatment. He instructed his assistant to perform moxa and some additional needling on my back. At one point, a heat pack was put on my feet, which made me feel so relaxed that I dozed off. He returned and did some more gentle insertive needling to points in my neck and shoulder area. Afterwards, I became aware that a lot of tension in my neck had gone, and my neck area felt more opened up. He did some more needling in my hip area, a special type of Toyohari treatment called Nazomuno. At the end of the treatment, I was more calm and relaxed. I left his clinic and walked to the main train station to go back to my hotel. Along the way, I felt in a calm and contemplative mood. I have visited the clinics of other sighted acupuncture practitioners in Japan. Some have been more clinical looking. Others have had a rough and ready-like feel to them. Mr. Taniuchi'c's bright and spa-like interior was probably not so common. I believe this is because he worked with his daughters, who had an eye for aesthetics and who had combined a vegetarian-style cafe bar with his clinic, along with a woman's touch. His clinic is impressive, though I suspect that Mr. Taniuchi'c would be just as happy to work in a less glamorous clinic as long as he was busy and had plenty of customers to visit. Some of the other teachers did say they had smaller premises and employed 1 or 2 assistants or worked with their family. In the future, I hope to visit the clinics of other Japanese acupuncturists, both sighted or blind. This experience gave me one great example of how a blind practitioner can run a successful clinic accommodating hundreds of clients a month.